Hi folks, Dr. Paul here with a video summary for Unit 3. And in part of this unit, we are talking about metaphors. And whenever this subject comes up, um, oftentimes I hear from therapists that they're not good with metaphors or they don't think in metaphors. And so that's a common thing for me to hear, but in many ways, I think that we're missing some of the importance of metaphors, and maybe there's some misunderstanding because most of us think and see quite naturally in pictures. So there are some habits to develop to begin to listen for client metaphors and not feel like you have to come up with them all the time. There are certainly times when a therapist will generate a metaphor and sort of pose it to their clients. And I think it's good to pose metaphors. Oftentimes it's helpful to do that from a one-down perspective. So if you're not sure if a metaphor is going to fit, and it can certainly show an awful lot of respect to be tentative and say, this kind of sounds like, I'm not really sure, but what I'm kind of seeing is, and then, say your metaphor. And that kind of hedging language can go a long way toward people allowing it to resonate with them. But there are also client metaphors, and clients speak in metaphors all the time, and sometimes it's very overt, but other times it's much more subtle. And to begin to really discover the richness of the client's metaphors, you have to begin to slow down the therapy process. You have to be willing to engage in a therapeutic conversation that's more of a dance, where you are not taking questions out of your own head and formulating them and then giving them to your clients, but you're allowing your questions and your statements to be informed by what your client has just said. And in this way, you can never get lost or stumble to know where to go in therapy. So I would begin to notice when you're asking questions, is this question coming from my head and my own curiosity versus being curious about something that your client is saying or has just spoken about? So it's a different way to participate in conversations because you really do slow down and you're paying very close attention to the language that they're using. And in this way, you're able to repeat words back that they're using, which is a very effective and subtle way to join with people outside of their awareness. And a whole world opens up to you when you allow the conversation to slow down and allow clients to lead it, because you start to hear some of the ways that they talk and speak that are filled with word pictures. But if you're in your head trying to think of the next question, oftentimes you'll miss them. I think metaphors can be good for a variety of reasons, but one important reason is to frame a situation. So a metaphor that allows you to paint a picture or pose a picture for the sake of framing a situation a bit differently than your clients are framing it. And oftentimes that framing can include a reframe or a positive connotation. So they can be very effective to frame a situation. I'm thinking of a case I think I shared with you where a 12-year-old boy was practically sitting on his mom's lap. And Minuchin talked about the boy being mom's teddy bear. Now you could argue there's multiple ways of talking about how that's useful, but for me, he's framing their relationship in a very benign way, but in a way that allows them to perceive it a bit differently when it's put into that sort of a context. So that's one way that metaphors can be helpful. Another way I think they're really helpful is to allow you to deeply connect with people, or what I would say become radically present with them. And when you're able to say, you know, what you're saying to me kind of sounds like, and then you go on to share your metaphor, like you two are bracing for Category 5 hurricane, but then it never really kicks up, or it did kick up some time ago, and now you're dealing with the fallout from that. It can become a way to really join with the people that you're working with, because the metaphor um, packs a punch. And so when you say to somebody, wow, it's as you're sitting there, I picture somebody who just had a house dropped on them, right? That is speaking to the level of intensity and how much you see that this person is being squashed by a house, by their situation. The metaphor really packs a punch in terms of your understanding and conveying that understanding to your clients. To a couple that you might say, it sounds like you're both drowning and you both don't want to drown and you want to save the other person, but in the process of trying to save yourselves and save the other person, you're just drowning each other even more. That can be a powerful way for people to feel like, yeah, that's what this feels like, and you expressing it that way really shows me that you get it. So it can help you to super join or super connect, or again, as I prefer the phrasing, become radically present with your clients in ways that can lead to some very profound transformations because you've made that connection. So I would encourage you to experiment, practice. Certainly don't be afraid of metaphors, and you'll be really glad you did so, because they can be one of the most effective tools that we have. So, okay, well, if you want to respond to this posting in the course room, of course, with one idea or follow-up question that this little talk has sparked in you, that would be great. Okay, talk to you soon.